Alright, I got about 15 minutes into the last recording and got a work call, so I set my phone on Do Not Disturb, so this one should go smoothly, I guess, and I'll be able to get through all the rest of the songs. I think my fiance is coming home any second now, so I'll probably pause the video for that, but the last video, I said Burke and Hare were grave robbers. They were not. They didn't rob any graves because of the cages I mentioned. They would pick up homeless people, like I said, off the street and get them wasted, lure them into the basement or whatever, and either Burke or Hare would lay across their chest while one would hold their nose and mouth. And I guess that method's called burking, probably due to the fact that Burke and Hare did it. But so we went over the first tracks. We did Locusta, Nero's Inferno, The Black Knight, Dracula, The Big Bad Wolf, Countess Bathory, and Burke and Hare in the last video. Watch that if you haven't. And then I'll go in order of the other 7 songs. So for the first video, I had about 6 pages of research. For this one, I have about 15. So it goes into some pretty crazy stuff later on. We'll be getting into some pretty crazy stuff. But first song, Mary Ann. It's about Mary Ann Cotton. She was alive from 1832 to 1873. She was an English serial killer who was convicted of murdering her stepson with poison. She is believed to have killed 11 of her 13 children and 3 of her 4 husbands, though, as well. Never confirmed, only convicted of the stepson, I believe. She is also suspected of killing her mother. Her mother was sick, and then she went to visit her mother, and her mother died 4 days after she visited. So, put 2 and 2 together. She used arsenic to kill, and she had up to 21 people that she killed in total. Suspected. Many deaths were attributed to gastric fever. So no one really thought much about it because she was constantly moving from place to place. So nobody connected her to any of the crimes. Probably until after she was convicted of murdering her stepson that people kind of looked into her past. Convicted and sentenced to hang. She didn't die from breaking her neck, though. She was strangled to death because the rope was set too short. Possibly deliberately, I read as well. I thought I heard my fiance coming in. Song, probably my favorite song on the album. It's like very epic sounding, I think. Dennis fills out a lot of the track, I think, with his drums like he does on all of the songs. Bass really adds to it. I know I said in the last one the bass doesn't really pick up on this album, but going back, listening to the album all the way through, I think it's fine. You know, it's not as loud as like it is on Sinister Slaughter, on all the other ones before this. I feel like on this one you can hear it, but then on the one after this, the album Carnival Killers, they really turn down his bass, but you can hear parts on this, which his bass really adds to the song, I think, on this track. Corporate Death's vocals, some of my favorite vocals on this. He does Mary Ann. Maybe some people might think that he says Mary Ann too much, but it just kind of adds to the fairy tale-esque vibe. Mary Ann was looking for a man. Mary Ann was from Victorian. So you just have to listen to the song and you'll see what I'm talking about. Solo on this, when he's doing the Mary Ann parts, right after it his voice kind of fades out and there's like a ringing from the guitar, then it goes into the solo. It's so epic. Probably one of my favorite Macabre solos on the song. I've constantly listened to this song probably once a week for the past many years ago, whenever I first heard this album. It's pretty much it for this song. I mean, my favorite Macabre solo, probably either this or Joe Ball or something like that. Just so good. The next song, The Bloody Benders. So, the Bender family were killing people from 1871 to 1873. We're not going to really know any of their ages, when they were born or when they died, and you'll see why. Nothing's really known about the Bender family. No one really, there's no pictures of them or anything. They were a family that was around during, like, the Wild West times, the frontier, people traveling on horseback and just very open land. There's nothing for 14 miles in either direction where they live. So the Pa Bender, John Bender Sr., he was 60, spoke little English. They all were German. And normally when he spoke, it was just like a grunt, or it was very guttural sounding. Ma Bender, Elvira Bender, supposed to be around like 55, I think, spoke little English, and neighbors called her She-Devil. So she was very just kind of like, nobody knew really what she even sounded like, because she never talked to anybody, very drawn back. Oh shit, I had to call somebody and I forgot to press play back on the music. It's my bad. I was like, something's off. So you got John Bender Jr., age 25. He's one that spoke the best English, along with his sister. But he would laugh randomly, and people kind of just thought he was retarded. He couldn't really spell either, which was probably normal back then. Kate Bender, she was 23. So she's one that lured all the dudes in, attractive, self-proclaimed healer, and psychic. So that's kind of what brought people to their cabin, basically. They sold groceries. It was an inn where people could sleep. And she also would, heal people with her special powers, and could read, the future, and read people's minds and shit, basically. The Bender family were a family of serial killers in Labette County, Kansas from May 1871 to 1872. Estimates report that the Benders killed at least a dozen travelers, possibly as many as 20. They had a cabin, which was 16 by 20, located adjacent to the Great Osage Trail. I'm probably saying that wrong. It was the only open road for traveling farther west. So, they got a lot of travelers, people driving their wagons or their, horses by. And normally people would stop to get their supplies or sleep for the night and then head out. But I read that they didn't really even have a lot of groceries. It's probably just all a ploy to kill people and get their belongings, basically. They divided their cabin into 2 rooms with a canvas wagon cover. So it's like they have this little ass cabin, 16 by 20, put like a little wagon cover in the middle of the room or whatever. The one room was there where they lived, the living quarters for them. And then the front area was a general store, which contained a kitchen and a dining room table, and where travelers would sleep for the night. Under the chair in the general store, kitchen, and living area, there was a trap door underneath the table, or the chair where the people would sit. And Kate Bender, that's her name, right? Kate Bender would sit across from them, either just keeping them company, talking to them, or probably doing her psychic shit with them. And then Pa and John Bender would come out behind the wagon curtain with a hammer and bash their head in, and then they'd open up the trap door, and then they'd go down into the cellar area. So when they killed people, I can't remember where they buried them. I think all around the property. Some bodies were put into the apple orchard next to the house, I believe, or the cabin. And then probably a lot of the other ones were just kind of scattered around. I know they killed a father and his infant daughter. I believe she was 2. She was either suffocated or buried alive. I know that. We don't really know how many people they killed, but also, definitely, if you're interested, look up these people for yourselves, like all the people I'm going to go over. And in the last one, I don't go over everything. I just gave a brief description of what these people did, Eventually, the brother of a victim got on their trail. So yeah, he went looking for his brother because he didn't come back. They fled, because they're like, all right, these people are onto us. And then somebody eventually stumbled upon the abandoned inn. When he walked in, it just reeked of death. And he went to get a township trustee, but due to the weather, nobody could get there for about 7 days. The cabin was completely empty and reeked of death. It reeked because the cellar area was soaked in blood of the victims and seeped into the foundation. It was basically just like soil down there. They found 10 victims in the first night, 9 the second, and 8 victims the next. One was found in a well along with several body parts. And then I already talked about the little girl. So we don't really know where these guys went, but there's like some information that suggests that they went on like a cat and mouse chase with the police and everything like that. Not really the police, the whoever was pursuing these people. But they got away. We don't really know what happened to them. All right, for the song itself, it kind of reminds me of being like on a plantation, or like if somebody's doing like cross country traveling, like a movie or something, the flow of it. Dennis really is able to shine, on this track like he is on a bunch of other ones, because it's more goofy instead of being a straightforward metal song, but he's able to do all the shit that he does so well on this. Then with next song, Lizzie Borden. So a lot of people probably already know about Lizzie Borden. She was alive from 1860 to 1927. Lizzie Borden was an American woman found not guilty actually, but she was thought to have murdered her father and stepmom. She was arrested and tried, but she was acquitted of all charges. She spent the remainder of her life in a large modern house with maids and stuff like that. So she got... Nobody knows if she's really guilty or not, but I'm going to go over what happened to her father and stepdad. Or her father and stepmom. The first to die was her mom, Abby. Forensic investigation showed that Abby was facing the killer while she was struck on the side of the head with a hatchet. This cut right above her ear, and it caused her to turn and hit the ground, and it made her face, she got contusions on her nose and her forehead. She was then struck 17 more times in the back of her head. Her dad returned home, her dad Andrew returned home, and the door was jammed, and the maid said that while he was trying to open the door, that Lizzie was on the top of the stairs where her stepmother was dead, cackling or something like that, laughing. The maid helped the father remove his boots so he could take a nap on the sofa. She went upstairs to rest because I guess she was cleaning some windows and stuff. And then about 20 minutes later, Lizzie shouted, her name's Maggie, the maid, "Maggie, come quick, father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him." Andrew was slumped on the couch, struck 10 or 11 times with a hatchet. One of his eyes had been split in two, which kind of shows that he was asleep when he got struck. Abby's money went to Andrew first because she died first, so it went to Andrew. And then when Andrew died, all of his money went to both of his daughters. So it went to Lizzie and I can't remember her sister's name. So yeah, they inherited the money. She was acquitted because there wasn't enough evidence to confirm that she murdered her dad and stepmom. There was also some other suspects. Somebody was at the house earlier in the morning and was supposed to come back, like a family friend or something like that. And then she died of pneumonia in 1927. So obviously in the song it talks about how Lizzie Borden murdered her parents. Hold on, I'm turning this light off. Lizzie Borden murdered her parents, but obviously we don't know if she really did or not. So the song kind of reminds me something off the Gloom album that they put out. I think they came out in '89. Chorus, I mean, I'm constantly singing it around the house or driving. I constantly put this song on because it just gets stuck in my head all the time. Lizzie Borden took an axe. The riff is killer, I think. As soon as you put it on, it just comes in with the riff. So yeah, really good song. One of my favorites on the album. And the next song, The Ripper Tramp from France. This is Joseph Vauquier. He was alive 1869 to 1868. Now, this dude I wrote a lot of information about. You'll see why. I knew nothing about this dude before doing this video, but you'll see this and the last dude, pretty crazy people. So Joseph Vauquier was a French serial killer, rapist, and necrophile. He killed between 11 to 50 people from 1894 to 1897, many of them being young farm workers. He went from being known as the killer of shepherds to the French Ripper or the Southeast Ripper once he was eventually caught. He had a scarred face, and he also wore a rabbit fur hat, which kind of made him stand out a little bit. He served in the military, but only caused problems. Pretty much his whole military career, pretty much his whole life, this guy's been nothing but problems. He would steal and hide clothes from fellow soldiers. He also tried to kill his superior officers like 3 different times. He was known as he was known to have a short fuse and was aggressive to his fellow soldiers like all the time, basically. Just if they did anything that slightly annoyed him, he probably freaked out and started trying to attack them. During the first murder attempt on his superior officer, he didn't even do any damage to the guy. He pulled out a razor trying to slash him, and the guy was able to defend himself. So this dude, Joseph, was just like, fuck it, and he tried killing himself with a razor, but he wasn't able to slit his throat, I guess, because the guy probably knocked it out of his hand or something. He attacked another 2 officers, but he was actually promoted corporal the same year he attacked the 2 officers, so that's pretty interesting. You'll see that a lot with this dude. He kind of just gets away with whatever. So he became corporal, and then he became the rank, he became a sergeant, and he would beat his soldiers all the time, I guess, and almost strangled one to death. He would also steal from civilians, but since the stuff he stole wasn't, didn't have much value, he didn't get in trouble for it. While he was dismissed from the military for 4 months after a suicide attempt, I believe another suicide attempt, he fell in love with a maidservant. He proposed to her, but she declined because he said he would, quote, kill her if she betrayed him, in the same sentence as the proposal. But she denied it or dismissed it, and he still tried moving in with her parents, even after she said she didn't want him. And then after, failing to not be able to move in with the parents, he started stalking her and stuff. There was a lot of times where he tried, doing the same thing, trying to get with her. You'll have to look it up, though. It's pretty interesting. I didn't want to go into all that on this one because it was quite a bit of information about how many times he tried to get with this girl and all the different instances he had with her. But after many unsettling incidents between them, he eventually shot her 3 times in the head and himself twice in the head. They both survived, and one side of his face was paralyzed, and this left him deformed severely. And I think he also had a bullet lodged in his ear that stayed there until it just stayed there for the rest of his life. He was sent to a mental hospital where he put all of his abuse onto the staff at the mental hospital. He was discharged from the military, but he received a certificate of good conduct. I mean, what the fuck? He escaped twice and tried committing suicide by bashing his head against a wall, which kind of reminds me of that Black Flag song. He was found not guilty for the attempted murder of the lady, or I think her name's Louise. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity. He was transferred to another hospital, stayed there for 4 months, and then he was pronounced completely cured by the whoever was the professional there. He only spent in total 10 months in a mental hospital for shooting the girl and almost killing her. After he was released, he almost immediately began murdering his victims. In total, he killed at least 11 people, 1 woman, 6 teenage girls, and 4 teenage boys. And that was all during a 3-year killing spree. Many of them were shepherds. That's why he was called, what was it? The Killer of Shepherds. They used to watch their flocks in isolated fields, and that's normally when he'd attack. They were stabbed repeatedly, often disemboweled, raped, and sodomized. The last 2 were he sodomized them post-mortem. He became a drifter during this period, working on the farms, probably where he killed the people, and he also begged for money all the time. He was unkempt and frightening, wandering town to town in his filthy clothes. Like I said, he looks scary. He's got his face is paralyzed, and he also wears a rabbit fur hat. He was arrested twice for vagrancy, but never suspected of the killings. He attributed this to God's grace. He's one of them guys. He also had a pet bird and dog, but they refused to eat his stew one time, and he caved their heads in by throwing them on the ground. So this guy's very unstable. I think that also the 2 bullets to the head also didn't help him any with his mental problems. It probably made it way worse. He tried raping a mother in a field, and all of her, her kids and her family came out and stopped the arrest. I believe they held him captive in the house because, he was feral, basically. He's calling the lady a bitch and shit, and he has his rights to do with her as he wants. So they're like, this guy is definitely the Ripper, but they didn't have any evidence, but he actually just confessed to it. And then he was executed by guillotine. Pretty much at the end to this guy. So the song, I used to not like it as much as all the other songs on the album, but the chorus is really catchy, I think. Especially the riff underneath the chorus is really good, and the middle melody and solo is really good. One of the best on the albums, probably. Just another top-notch song. One that I didn't originally like, though, as much as I do now. So this is another female serial killer. Belle Guinness, 1859 to 1908, she was alive. Norwegian-American serial killer who was active in Illinois and Indiana between 1884 and 1908. So she was suspected to have killed at least 14 people, most of them men, that she would put out marriage ads, and then they'd come, where she lived, and then she'd just butcher them. I have no idea why. I think for insurance money. Some sources speculate she's responsible for as many as 40 murders, making her one of the most prolific female serial killers in history. So her first husband and 2 children died, and the children died from inflammation of the large intestine. So she got a large sum of money from the insurance company. And then, not long after that, her husband died from cerebral hemorrhage. Probably poisoned him or something. And then the money, she took that money from them 3 and bought a pig farm in Indiana. So she married a guy named Peter Guinness, which she took the last name of, and the following week after marrying this guy, his infant daughter died from unknown causes under her care, obviously too. So Peter died 8 months later due to a skull injury, which she said, I think a sausage grinder fell on his head or something. They suspected foul play, but I guess they just stopped looking into it at some point. So this is when she started placing marriage ads in Chicago newspapers. Over a dozen men disappeared after answering her ads. This is noted by a carpenter who was working on her house, and he's seen like over a dozen like trunks of these guys' belongings and stuff in her house. Her criminal activities came to light after her home burned down and the remains of a headless adult and her 3 children were discovered. So the reason I say headless adult is because it's never confirmed if she actually died, if she's the headless adult in the fire. Why is she headless? Who knows? While they were investigating the property, they unearthed the remains of at least 11 people. The parts were buried in her yard, stuffed in burlap sacks. The sacks contained torsos, hands, arms, arms hacked from shoulders down, and masses of human bones wrapped in loose flesh that dripped like jelly. Other parts buried in other graves scattered in the yard were butchered the same way, and these graves had legs severed at the knees and skulls with blunt trauma and gashes. So she probably whacked them with a hammer and chopped them up. After finding the remains, police simply just stopped counting the remains, so we don't really know how many people she killed because they were just like, this is too much. It's probably too hard to identify. It's, arms and legs and the jelly and shit. So the intro to the song is very funny. It's kind of like he's like just talking, but the rhyming he does is really funny. The chorus always gets stuck in my head. A lot of these, the chorus is what makes the song. Let's see if I can find it on air. So Bella the butcher chopped up her men and buried them down by the hog pen. She took out insurance policies, then she murdered her families. So, it's all these are very funny. This one's, like I said, gets stuck in my head a lot. The riff is also awesome too. Just listen to the song and you'll know what I'm talking about. So this dude is also named Bella. His name's Bella Kiss. And he also put marriage ads in the newspapers where he lived. So Bella Kiss, he was alive 1877, and kind of like Bella the Butcher, we don't know when he died. You can say that the headless corpse was Bella, but a lot of people think that she just did that to escape her life. So this guy, we don't know where he went, so no death date for him. Hungarian serial killer Bella Kiss is thought to have murdered at least 23 young women and 1 man. Bella was serving in World War I and left around 1914, like the start of World War I. His landlord wanted to do like renovations on the building where he lived, but he was informed, Bella was serving in World War I. His neighbor informed him. So the landlord and Bella Kiss's neighbor went into what does it say here? A chamber next to Kiss's workshop because they there's supposed to be a large quantity of reeds down there, like pieces of grass or something. I don't know. I also, in the song, it has a different description of how they discovered his crimes. It says village constable remembered that there was large metal drums filled with gasoline in the cellar. I got something completely different, but it doesn't really matter. The bodies were discovered either way. So they found the drums thinking it had the reeds in them. They opened it up, and inside were bags filled with women inside. Like each drum, I think, had a woman. Or maybe women were crammed in. I can't exactly remember. So they just instantly got a hold of the police. They arrived, and they found in total 24 bodies in the metal drums. He was immediately, they're trying to track him down, but he's in, World War I. He's fighting, and his name is very common as well in the area, so they can't track him down. But it was later found that Kiss corresponded with over 70 women, and he would send them letters and also put, the ad out there for the marriage thing, trying to get them to either come over to his house to kill them or get their money from him, basically, And two women actually tried suing him because they found out that he was probably lied about who he was, but they actually disappeared before it was able to go through with the court and stuff, and the case was dismissed between them. But the women that came to his house were all strangled, put inside drums filled with alcohol, and sealed airtight, basically pickling them. The bodies had puncture wound marks on their necks and drained of their blood. So he's basically a cannibal, kind of like this dude actually, the acid bath vampire, John George Haig. He is suspected of drinking the victims' bloods and putting them in a drum, but he'd fill them with acid and dump their sludge out. This guy was just storing them, it seemed like, maybe to drink the remains or drink the sludge left over from the women. But he probably found out at some point that they were onto him, so he switched his dog tags with a dead soldier, or I think he killed the guy. He killed the soldier. That's his one male victim. Put the dog tags on him, and then he was never seen again, basically. There were some sightings of him, people said, of him in New York City or something like that, but nothing was confirmed, so I didn't put it in here. So this song is, this riff is very eerie sounding, good chorus, Bella, so I'll read it off. Let's see here. We have Bella Kiss couldn't miss with his charming advertisements that women couldn't resist. Bella Kiss was filled with evilness. He pickled women and stored them on his premises. So, very catchy chorus, heavy ass riff, like I said, and the riff is very eerie, I think. So we're getting to the that song. I don't think I even said the song for Bella Kiss or Bella the Butcher. So the song for Bella is called Bella the Butcher, and then the song for Bella Kiss is called The Kiss of Death, which that's what his landlord said when he walked into the chamber. He said it smelled like the stench of death. So obviously Macabre just said The Kiss of Death. Sorry about that. And then the next song is called The Sweet Tender Meat Vendor. This is a song about Jorg Grossman, or Carl Grossman. In the song they call him Jorg. He was alive 1863 to 1922. So Jorg was a German serial killer and rapist who murdered anywhere from 20 to 100 plus people. So this is probably the most I have written about all these guys, and it's going to get fucked up here soon. First conviction was vagrancy at the age of 19. This guy does not know how to stay out of trouble. In the following 4 years, he was convicted of theft, attempted blackmail, threats, and property damage. He was jailed 3 different times for assault in 1886, 87, and 88, and served in the military between 86 and 87, but was discharged for a criminal arrest for rape. So he spent over a year in prison. He got another year sentence for aggravated assault, probably while he was in prison. After his release, though, from all these crimes, he worked for numerous butcher shops and slaughterhouses. So he kind of built up a reputation for himself, being a good butcher. But then he would yet again get arrested for begging. That's something you get arrested for. Once for fraud and once for trespassing. Serving a total time of 6 months and 2 weeks. After he got out, he left Berlin in 1894, traveling all over southern Germany. He got sentenced all over the place in southern Germany. Different stuff, like he already did this shit before, vagrancy, trespassing, and fraud, but one-offs that he got sentenced for were physical insult, resisting arrest, and bestiality. So this bestiality charge came from when a gardener alerted police officers after hearing his nanny goat screaming. Officers found Jorg inside the stable at the hooves of the animal and hiding under a coat. So he's getting in this shit. Originally, he was like, "Oh, I was just trespassing," but an examination of the goat showed that it had severe swelling around its genitalia, and Jorg was, and I quote, "wet around the knees." So I think this guy probably did some stuff. He was sentenced to 10 months for sodomy. Later on, his criminal record included assault, petty burglary, and sex crimes against young girls. So this is where it gets really fucked up. His first charge was for the rape of a 4-year-old girl, but I don't know how long he was in for that. But the longest of those first sentences was only 15 months for molesting a 12-year-old girl. But after being released in 1899, he yet again molested a 10-year-old girl and a 4-year-old girl. But this time he was sentenced 15 years because the 4-year-old girl actually died from an infection because he tore her perineum. So, I mean, what the fuck? This guy gets out and he does some more stuff. This actually is barely in the song. This is just a couple lines in the song. This goes over. So, while in prison, he received 15 citations for unprovoked fights. After his release, he moved back to Berlin. World War I was starting up, but he was actually too old to be drafted. So he rented out a kitchen in an apartment, and then in this area where his apartment was, it was known at the time for its high rates of crime, unemployment, and prostitution. Grossman was only known in the area for his repulsive looks and stench. So people didn't really think much of him. He didn't really talk to people. He kind of kept to himself. And some residents said they'd hear loud noises and screaming coming from his apartment, but they just thought he was having rough sex with prostitutes, because I guess that was pretty common. Grossman said Grossman sold meat on the black market and managed a sausage stand near a train station. So a lot of people coming up, he butchers these girls. I think he was only convicted of 3, or suspected of 3. One, they definitely had the proof of, and then 2 other ones, there was kind of enough evidence to prove that he killed them, like large amounts of blood and stuff like that. So, but a lot of people think he didn't sell meat on the street, but on this, and for the song, that's kind of what they go for, the sweet tender meat vendor. So he's selling their corpses on the black market, basically. Not confirmed, but little fan theory. Near the train station, he'd bring women that were coming off the train and stuff to his apartment, offering them work, basically, probably like a maid for his apartment. And then once in the apartment, he'd either rape them or let them work for him for up to several days or weeks, and then eventually he'd rape them. A lot of the ones that he killed, he dumped their bodies into the canal, chopped them up and put pieces into the river. And even though he didn't kill all of them, he was reporting himself to the police, basically, but he was reporting that the girls stole from him, just in case if all the ones that survived and he let go ever accused him of rape. He'd say, well, no, I didn't, because they stole my shit and I chased them out of my apartment, kind of thing. So he was doing that to kind of cover his tracks, but I mean, it kind of leads a trail right back to him once it gets caught. I'm not going to go into a lot of the stuff because there's so much. One time, police found a 15-year-old girl in his apartment, and it didn't even lead to nothing because she was homeless and she didn't press any charges. There's a lot of instances like that. One time, his landlord's wife found a unconscious girl in his apartment, but he said he drugged her to have sex with her basically, and she just didn't say nothing. He later butchered her basically. So yeah, this went on for a while. He was arrested because a brother of a victim confronted him, but he was released, and it was never pursued again. At this time, dismembered human remains were appearing nearly daily in Berlin's Spree River. So eventually, police arrested Grossman at his apartment on August 1921 due to screaming and banging noises that his neighbors reported. They tried, knocking on the door, but he wouldn't let him in, so they kicked the door down and saw Grossman's bloody hands, wrapped around like a bottle or something. He was trying to drink cyanide. Obviously, they kicked the bottle away from him, or knocked the bottle out of his hands, and he survived. But there was a naked woman in his bed as they came in. She was still alive, but then seconds after being discovered, she died. Probably succumbing to whatever he did to her. I didn't even see any information about that, but majority of the victims died from asphyxiation or blunt force trauma while bound to the bed. Sometimes he'd shove a hand into their mouths and watch their deaths for up to several minutes while they basically suffocated on his hand. Residents estimated that they had seen him with over 150 women, but I think about 50 women survived him, so that leaves about 100, that he killed probably. Only the body of the first or the final victim was traced back to him, though, because they basically seen him kill her, and blood stains that indicated at least 2 other people had died recently and were butchered. During his trial, Grossman hung himself in his cell with a bedsheet tied to a loose nail in the door frame. So that pretty much, he didn't, get charged with anything because while he was on trial, just killed himself. So, don't really know if he sold meat on the street, but for the song, that's the idea that they went with. So the chorus, it's really good. Goes over, your gross man was a very gross man. It's kind of plays on his name. Selling meat on the street to the people of Berlin. Jörg claimed the meat was beef or pork, butchered just for them, but little did they know that Grossman was deceiving them. So that's kind of the idea they go with, that Jörg actually was selling meat on the street. I think it's a badass last song for an album. Like I said, the first song is really good, opening track, and then this one's really good, very epic sounding. In the middle part is one of my favorite parts on the whole album. Dennis does like this ride underneath this, crazy ass riff. Just one of my favorite songs on the album. Like I said, all these are my favorite songs ever, besides the Countess Bathory cover. But like I said, they do Venom justice. I don't know how this one's going to turn out. I kind of just read off all my notes and didn't really give any side information. I probably forgot a bunch of stuff too. That's pretty much it, though. I think it's funny that they have 2 people named Bella back to back, both putting in marriage ads in the newspaper and everything. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, Lizzie Borden's dad on the back, right above the guys. That's crime scene photo. Probably can't pick it up very well, but you can look up a lot of the crime scene photos from the later songs. I forgot to mention as well, all of these go in order of history and stuff, like when they happened. And then the album I got playing on in the background is Roger Vor. What's this one called? Roger Vor. Got it signed by Chris Webber. I think I'm on the bonus tracks right now. But I'm not going to pronounce the name of the album because I'm going to butcher it, so. It's one that I play a lot, though, even though I don't know the fucking title name, how to pronounce it. But, alright. I guess that's it for this one.